It's another thrilling return to Season 3 of the Sprint Cup here at the Sim Grid. We visited Britain and we visited Italy twice. Tonight we make our way over to Hungary, to one of the busiest circuits in Eastern Europe. We're off to the Hungaroring, just outside Budapest, 20 kilometres north of the city, and we head for round 4 of the Sprint Cup. It's David Christie alongside Alex Goldschmidt here with you tonight, and what a season we have had so far. Is still currently the BMW team, G2 Esports BMW guys, in the 62 up top with 148 points. But Alex, so much to decide tonight, and this is really a pivotal point in the season.
Hi David, hi everyone. Yes, Hungary, the circuit known as the Monte Carlo without buildings, obviously due to its twisty and bumpy nature here, and obviously for quite a few elevation changes. Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, there's quite a lot to decide. You know, we've got the top 3 coming into this, separated by 26 points. You know, BMW Team G2 Esports, 2 victories out of 3 so far. Send It Racing, 2 second places so far. AlphaSpot.com, you know, the highest ranked Porsche in this championship on 122 points, with the consistency of running in the top 10. H3 Racing, you know, championship leaders after Misano, with 2 steady third places, the team of Luke Whitehead and Amarda Equisi, having that massive disaster at Imola, which I've spoken to Luke Whitehead since, and he said, yeah, that's a race I definitely want to forget about, and we want to move forward. Sidemax Motorworks, the 285, looking to come back. Of course, also, one of the biggest bits of news, Niels van der Kerkhout and George Boothby, UKO G47, not here tonight, along with other teams including Musto GD Esports, and also the like and subscribe team of Vasily Anufriev and Kirill Antonov. We've got 2 teams tonight that will be having 1 solo driver, one of which is the number 41 Magnum Racing Aston Martin, which would have Igor Ogorodnikov alongside Grigory Ivanov, but the former not here tonight. And also Vishal Patel in the 295 PC Boys Esports 2 car, also running solo. So as per the regulations here on Sprint Cup Season 3, if you are a solo driver, when you have your pit stop, it's an automatic 10-second stop and go before the car can be worked on. But the Hungaroring is going to be a true test tonight. And also one of the biggest things, back again on full ballast, is G2. So you got to look at it from this perspective. It's Gregor Schill and Arthur Camera, so Niles Noyox not here this evening, so Gregor finally back with us. There's so much that we can take from what is going to happen tonight here at the Hungaroring, a very difficult circuit to pass at.
Yeah, it certainly is very high speed, some technical, tight, twisty turns for sure, and we'll get a track guide on that in just a second. But going back to the ballast, as you said, 35 kilograms of ballast for the winner of the last race, and that goes all the way down to P15 getting 10 kilos of ballast. Might actually have more of an impact than normally we would see at a track like the Hungaroring. But in terms of what you can expect to see tonight, ladies and gentlemen, there is 1 mandatory pit stop. This is a team event, so there are normally 2 drivers. If for whatever reason the second driver can't take part, the remaining driver can take part, can complete the race by themselves, but that team will get a penalty of 130 seconds. That 1 pit stop must be taken after 50 minutes race time remaining. The pit stop window opens for 10 minutes, and then that is the pit stop window complete. Now, teams can complete a pit stop outside of that window, so they can pit at any time they like, but it will not count towards their mandatory pit stop. Cars on the track for qualifying, and I think actually what we can do is give the cars maybe a minute or so to get the tyres up to temperature, Alex, and do something a little bit different tonight. I think we should put you on the spot, under the bus, and get a live, as it happens, track guide. What do you think of that?
I'm all game for that. I mean, actually, whilst we're on there, let's have a look on the number 16 Maximilian Volbuth from XL Racing by Henvelton, on board with the Ferrari, heading across the start-finish line. Very, very long straightaway, and Maximilian will be using as much revs as possible, heading into the braking zone, down from 5th into first gear for turn 1. And then also, what's interesting about this circuit, we also have a slight right-hand kink known as turn 1-8. Pull the car to the right-hand side to allow the full rotation down the dip here, going through turn 2. So this is one of the many twisty and bumpy parts on the circuit, and he's absolutely having to wrestle with it. Slight right-hand kink going into turn 3. Now the elevation increases once again, and through into turn 4, before hard on the brakes before turn 5, which is a sweeping right-hander. And again, he's using the gearbox anywhere between 1st to 5th gear, and you can now go down into turn 6. So it's a right and then it's a left, down again through a little bit of a dip as you negotiate your way through turn 8, and it just starts to flow a little bit more through into the right-hand sweeper at 9, and then into the left-hander at 10. So again, you can just see he's snatching gears, going through corners to carry the momentum through, but also to help the traction, running as far to the left as he dare, going through turn 11 into turn 12. Pretty much a 90 right that Nyon comes back onto itself in 2nd gear, and then sweep across through turn 12A into turn 13, the penultimate corner on this circuit, on 1st gear. Now we'll start to build speed through into turn 14. Now this corner will feel like it's going on forever, a bit like the final corner at the Nürburgring, but out of the final corner, and that is a hot lap here at Hungaroring with Maximilian Vollmuth in the number 16 Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo.
Take a bow, Alex Goldschmidt. Thank you very much for that. A live track guide there here on the sim grid. I've got to admit, this is actually one of my favourite tracks in Assetto Corsa Competizione. It's a very challenging circuit because with all of the different inclination changes, the changes in height, it is just so much fun.
It is, and one of the things, you know, there's so many different championships that have run here before as well. Most notably, the European Le Mans Series and also the FIA GT Championship have run here previously. But one of the things I love about this circuit is it's not easy to overtake. And you can see we're with James Parker at the moment in the 699 Send It Racing. He's partnered with Charlie Crossland, and it's even worse when it's in the wet. And I've commentated on the Hungaroring, virtually speaking, on Assetto Corsa Competizione, both in the dry and also in the wet. But it's even more difficult to overtake in either set of conditions, because you're not going to be able to exploit the full potential of the engine. But what you've got to concentrate on in many respects is, you know, the shock absorber return rate, the damper settings. It's all about suspension and mechanical grip. You know, torque and engine grunt will only get you so far, but it's about how that car is working underneath. And I think, again, this is going to be a track that's going to suit, like, say, the mid-engine rear-wheel drive cars. I mean, we saw the likes of Nowakowski from Carbon Simsport, and the only driver that has won at this circuit on the sim grid, running in the number 92 from Taro, Amir Hosseini. And and also we've now got the fact that both Luke Whitehead and Amir Hosseini have just posted exactly the same lap time, but Nowakowski running on a 1 minute 42.7. And just look at that, David. Amir Hosseini's got some damage on that front bumper.
Yeah, that's not looking the best, and of course it's quite a strict damage system that Assetto Corsa Competizione runs in the terms of how much it affects. Huge development. Not only do we have identical lap times for now 5th and 6th, but just to add a little bit of spice, a little bit of flair into tonight, how do you fancy joint lap times for the top? 1:42.729 all rounds for Mikhail Nowakowski and for Eunice Savalainen. That's the 25 McLaren and the 77 AMG respectively. Oh boy, we got a race going on tonight. Just wanted to come back very quickly, Alex, to something you mentioned there about how important setup is on this track. I would say as well, patience is an absolute game changer on this. You've got turn 2, turn 5 and turn 14. Now, you mentioned it on the track guide. The corners feel like they're going on forever. And one of my problems is I put on the throttle too early. And if you do that, washes you out to the outside. and then you end up losing a lot of time. So a lot of these drivers going to have to keep consistent. But back to the action of Ford qualifying. Dan King goes pole, 142.528, but Luke Whitehead on a charge as well. He's coming round the final couple of corners, but he goes into the pit instead. Now he looks like he's got a little bit of damage as well on the front of that car. Alex, 12 minutes left to go. Any real surprises?
I mean, I'm not at all surprised with. Well, I mean, now just heard that Nowakowski's 0.3 up, so that puts him in the 142. Well, high 142.3s. I mean, the biggest thing that I'm not going to make any bets. I mean, one of the things that I'm going to be interested to see is how. Now, Gregor Schill, I wonder how G2 are going to respond, because 35 kilos of ballast on a BMW that is quite hefty anyway, they're going to have to really maximise that car, and it is going to be. I think it's going to be a struggle, because we saw that when we went to Misano, and they had an absolute nightmare. Not only did they have an absolute nightmare, but then Send It Racing, G2 Esports and Send It Racing, both got taken out within the first 3 laps. They were involved in incidents that were not of their making. So this is about damage limitation. We've got 2 more rounds. We've got May the 6th at Zolder, another twisty track. But, however, Gregor Schill is currently on. He's currently 0.7 up at the moment, and he's going through turn 11. And there's Luke Whitehead just behind in the number 404. But it's just about that weight. That weight is just going to really hamper the handling of that BMW. And we know that when it's got no ballast, it is an absolute rocket ship. That has been proven at the first and the third rounds of this season. But here at the Hungaroring, you need a car with that sort of like that nice balance, that all-round package when it comes to being able, being able to exploit the handling, but also to exploit the engine. But is it going to be the case where drivers are going to all be on map 1? Because what you don't want is going through, like, say, coming out of turn 14, you light up the rear tyres and the car spins out to the left, coming through a right-hander. And I've just heard that Hamid Hosseini is running about 0.2 up, so this could put him in the top 6. But it is about, as you said, patience. And Hosseini's just invalidated that lap on that attempt as he was going through turn 12A and through into 13. You said about patience. I would say, if it was me, I'd probably go on the next setting down on the map, on the fuel map, because, okay, they won't give you complete full engine power. Yes, this is a sprint cup. But your strategy could be helped a little bit, because if you're using a slightly lower map, you're not using the full potential of that engine, but also you're using less fuel.
That's absolutely spot on, and if you're outside of the top 20, doing something different, throwing the dice and seeing where it lands is an absolutely spot on way of gaining some of the places back that you've lost there. Just again to give you an insight of the level of pace and competition we have here tonight, 21 drivers within 1 second of that pole position time, all the way down to 21st, the 39 Audi of Jaroslav Honzig. 9.96 of a second behind your pole sitter of Nowakowski. Benedetti with a cracking little lap there, jumps up into P8 in the 99 Ferrari. Great lap for him. That is just 0.6 off. That puts just under 143. But this is Amir Hosseini in the 92 McLaren. He is absolutely on it right now. He is pushing right now. What can that Tauro team McLaren do? Comes through that's turn 9 that he's gone through just now, on the run down towards turn 10, I believe. But In fact, no, he's already into turn 12 and on the way into turn 13. So this could be huge. This is definitely, if not going to be pole, this is going to get him up into the front row of the grids. He's 8 tenths up just now, so that could put him 2 tenths ahead right now, Alex. He comes round the final corner, turn 14. Again, having the patience. This is going to be huge. This is going to be almost a second. This is going to be a 140. Oh my goodness me! 142.1. Huge lap there for Amir Hosseini and Toro Racing.
I've got one sentence to say. Warning shots here at the Hungaroring have been fired by Amir Hosseini, but Jonas Salvalainen actually got to within 66 thousandths of Nowakowski, and he's right on the back of, that looks to be the 777 Ferrari. That's got Raymond Mooney behind the wheel from Sim Racing Masterclass. But yeah, I mean, also one of the impressive things about Benedetti, okay, from GTWR, that car's got 25 kilos of ballast. We've got a new lineup here at Rocket Simsport. We've got Devin Browner and Robbie Stapleford. Now, you and I have encountered Devin Browner before, and he is not exactly a slouch at all, is he?
He's a bit mental, absolutely mental. But of course, we've seen him on other platforms. He's brand new to Assetto Corsa Competizione. He only installed the sim yesterday. So, I mean, we talk about a baptism of fire. This is definitely one for the books for Devin Brown, currently down in P8. That is a remarkable debut. Obviously has used the Hungaroring before, but to come in and jump into what is this level of competition, 15 cars now within that second gap down to Jarno Kausch in the 911. That's a great lap from Devin Brown. Brings it into the pits, and we do not have too much longer left to go. Just 6.5 minutes left to go in qualifying here. Drivers, I think, coming into the pits, they'll be maybe making a couple of little tweaks. I think they'll be happy with these banker laps, but Nowakowski isn't paying attention to any of that at all. 2 tenths up, 3 tenths up. This is going to be pole for Nowakowski potentially. He's going to come across the line. 142.066. Wow! Shots fired again in the opposite direction. And these final 6 minutes are going to be absolute bedlam.
I think, Alaric Enslin, you're going to have to put your Taro pom-poms away at the moment, because he was cheering on Amir Hosseini. Maximilian Volmuth just goes up into P7 with Marius Twardsidlo. But also, the top 26 rounded out by Black Hawk Racing's Chris Sever, covered by 1.46 seconds. And also, I've just heard that Covello Costa in the number 33 from Zenith Esports, they're 4 tenths up, comes across the line, goes P15 behind GT RPM Esports Sheldon Muscat. And Jan Kaminski, I've heard, is just up at the moment. So the thing is that everyone is starting to improve. The track is starting to really evolve here, David. And the good thing is the majority of it is sunshine. I think at the end of it all, there's going to be a lot of drivers that are going to profit. Giuseppe Montalbano from Omega E goes 4th in the number 10. Chris Severa across the line. What's he got in the tank? 17th for the Nissan, behind Covello Costa. And,
yeah, that's a good lap from Severa in that GTR. That is a heavy car. And I wasn't expecting to see that in the top 20. Might be knocked down, but one of the other things, Alex, that I found really interesting is if we watch some of the top 5 consistently tucking in behind other cars, getting that little cheeky little boost on qualifying of the slipstream, and then just dipping out when they can overtake safely.
Yeah, that's going to give you that extra 10th or 2 tenths, maybe down the main straightaway. Here comes Darren King in the 377, currently P5, and a 10th up at the moment. This will put him ahead of Montalbano in the number 10. Actually puts him P3 ahead of Griffax's Salvalainen. And Luke Whitehead, I just heard, is 6 tenths up. This is going to put him in the top 4 very easily as the 404 H3 racing car comes out of the final corner. He's partnered with Hamada Erquizi, and across the line, P3, as Nathan Covello Costa from Zenith Esports rounds out the top 10, covered by 6 tenths of a second. Now also, an interesting bit of information. Now, for those that are already aware, that Season 3 of the Endurance Cup by Thrustmaster kicks off on the 1st of May. Well, this is the last time that these drivers are going to be using Assetto Corsa Competizione because, David, for Endurance Cup Season 3, there's going to be a custom balance of performance system implemented.
Yeah, it's a huge game changer, and I think it's an interesting turn of events because it now puts the power into the SimGrid hands in terms of looking after the balance of performance and making sure that all the cars are absolutely as level as they can be. I mean, we all know that certain cars have certain performance gains on certain tracks, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes round, but very much looking forward to that.
Yeah, and that will actually be at this very track as well, the 3 hours of the Hungaroring. And that's another championship that we're looking forward to. There's quite a lot coming up here on the SimGrid, which we'll talk through a little bit later. But yeah, Carly Atkins partnered this time with Alex Johnston. They're currently running in P24 at the moment, 1.2 seconds off of pole, which at the moment is still being held. I mean, to be honest with you, this is the most competitive qualifying session we've had all season long, David. And to see like Sheldon Muscat running at the top 17, 0.984 off of pole. I mean, also one of the other things, we were mentioning Chris Surveyor from Black Hawk Racing. That Nissan's got 23 kilos on it.
Yeah, and ballast plays such a huge part in certain circumstances. Tonight is one of those circumstances. On that note, I mean, we've got all 29 cars within 2 seconds of the leader, but I mean, it just shows you how you can go from hero to zero in an instant. You know, Gregor Schill in the 62 G2 esports machine, we said they were going to struggle tonight, but I don't think we expected flat last. 1.9 seconds behind, and I've got to be honest, considerably off the pace of the field right now. Fuzi though here for Sigmax Motorworks in the 285 Merc comes out the final corner, currently 3/4 tenths up just now. What can he do? Oh, that's a great lap, 6 tenths up, but in the end goes up into P14 for Marcel Fuzi. Back to Devin Brown in the 22 McLaren for the Rocket team. And coming through the corner just now, a couple of tenths up for Devin Brown just now. Jonas Savalainen, look at that though, Jonas Savalainen was up there into to 4th place, goes back up, takes his place into 3rd place. What can Devin Brown do? Comes out the final corner, up into P7, 45 seconds left to go at qualifying here for the Hungaroring, the 90-minute race, race 4 of Season 3 of the Sprint Cup. Dave Christie and Alex Goldschmidt here with you. As always, a huge thanks to our commercial partners, Thrustmaster, and to Coach Dave Academy for their continued support. A little bit more about them later as we see the 699 off into the grass. That is the Send It Racing of Charlie Crossland, and with 14 seconds left to go, that is going to be curtains for their qualifying effort. Nowakowski for Carbon Simsport in the 25, that incredible 142.066. Nobody else has really come close apart from Amir Hosseini, although Jonas Salvalainen getting that 142.2 is the best of the rest, really. Checker flag flies though. Qualifying is done and dusted, and this is the final laps for these drivers. Sheldon Muscat, it's been a Sprint Cup really to forget for him. It's been a very disappointing run of events and run of form lately across all of the events here at SimGrid for Sheldon Muscat. What we will say is keep an eye on him during the race, because when he maybe lacks in qualifying, he can definitely hold his own during the race. Currently 3 tenths up at the moment, and that is good enough to put him on 12th or 13th place. But it's looking like that is it. It looks like Nowakowski takes pole for 142.066. And there we go, Alex. That is qualifying done and dusted. Yeah, that was a banger.
Yeah, but the biggest news is Gregor Schill, 27th with the full 35 kilos. And Manis Gerardis, I've just heard, has gone from 19th to 15th position. But this entire qualifying session, right, get this. 29, all 29 cars covered by just under 2 seconds. The closest And to be honest with you, the fact that we saw so many people improving, but Nowakowski from Carbon Sim Sport just literally went. Hosseini went, yeah, I'm going to prove my worth here and get myself an Alaric into the top spot ready for tonight. And Nowakowski just went, hold my beer and hang on for the ride. And literally within 33 thousandths between them. I mean, that's brilliant. It's an all McLaren front row here at the Hungaroring. And now we're going to see over the next 90 minutes exactly what's going to happen. And I have to point out, Alaric Enslin said this comment in YouTube. This is what I love about qualies this close. Just a single tenth can gain you a couple of positions. Very much like DTM qualifying when I used to cover it as a journalist. Literally hundredths or thousandths could depend whether you were 5th or 15th. That's how close this session has been here at Hungary for the Sprint Cup.
Certainly is, and another scary statistic. We have 10 Ferraris in the top 15 right now, 4 McLarens and 1 AMG. What a mix that is, because when we look further down, there's your Audis, there's your Nissans, you've got Lexus and BMW, really everybody else, but it is for sure the McLaren and Ferrari row. Let's take you through your order then. It is the number 25 on pole position for Carbon Sim Sport for Nick Babin. Alaric Enslin leads up alongside him. Row 2 is going to be Jonas Salvalainen in the 77 Merc alongside Luke Whitehead in the 404 Ferrari. It's Damian Pavlos in the number 7 car alongside Giuseppe Montalbano on row 3. Row 4 is going to be Devin Brown with Dan King keeping him company. Thibaut Prost and Lucas Kreuzer are on row 5. Row 6 is going to be Jose Lago Montero alongside Maximilian Wallner. Row 7 is Jack Noller with Zahir Essa. Row 8 is going to be Manos Gerardis and Harry Spears. Row 9 is going to be Maximilian Vidi and James Parker. Then row 10 is Florian Becker with Chris Sever alongside him. 21st is going to be Jarno Kausch and 22nd Callie Atkins. 23rd is Jaroslav Honzig. Again, difficult qualifying session for them just now. Grigory Ivanov joins him alongside in 24th place. 25th place is going to be Christoph Verstappen and then Ben Hitz alongside on row 13. Row 14 is going to be Artur Kammerer and Jan Kaminski and then Patrick Pignon in the Audi at the back of the field in the 31 car. But your championship leaders in 27th position. Race 4, just 2.5 minutes left to go. Alex, what do we think we're going to see in the next 90 minutes then?
Plenty of hard-fought, close battles, because this is going to be rather difficult. You look at some of the teams in this. I mean, Jaroslav Honzik from the Jardio community team. Looking at the ballast has played into qualifying so much, and it's going to play into the race even more. Artur Kammerer starting in 27th. I hope Niles is not watching right now because he's probably having kittens as we speak. I mean, the thing is, we've seen that now. This is the second time that's happened. You look at, the Jardio community 39 Audi, 26 kilos of ballast. Just to... there's just... I mean, even Patrick Pignon down in 29th, they had 15 kilos on that. But just to have a McLaren front row, I mean, there's the team standing, the live standings. So G2 Esports again have to go into damage limitation mode because obviously for the rounds at Zolder and Suzuka, Zolder's a very tight technical circuit. It's very close as well in terms of proximity when you're looking to overtake drivers. And then you look at also the fact Zolder is the shortest circuit out of all 6 rounds. Send It Racing on 124 points. Sidemax Motorworks, the 285. That's the pairing of Harry Spears and Marcel Fusi. Then you've got Luke Whitehead and Hamada Erquizi at H3 in 4th. And then alphaspot.com, that's the 111 pairing of Florian Becker and Richard Lindhorst. I'm expecting something to happen. What's going to happen, I can't predict because, unfortunately, David, my usual crystal ball has always been broken for the last 3 or 4 years.
Well, here's what I think is going to happen. A very interesting little bit that I've noticed here. Our furthest up championship contender right now, everyone obviously is still a championship contender, but out of those 5, Luke Whitehead in that 404 Racing, currently up in P4. Everybody else is outside of the top 10, outside of the top 15. So how they've managed to do that with the ballast that they've got in that 404 machine, I'll be very, very interested to see how they do, because they did finish in that 404. Well, of course, they won't actually have ballast. I've just realised, because they didn't finish last time at Imola. So, yeah. But again, they've got huge gains that they could potentially be making tonight.
You could see that they may retake the championship lead, as now Nick Babin leads the field away, followed by Alaric Enslin. So yeah, to be honest with you, I think again we are going to see a championship lead. H3 looking to be the favourites here. And a lot of people have been Alaric Enslin's been asking for rain, and it was just like, well, yeah, 23 degrees Celsius, hardly any clouds in the sky. Doesn't look like rain weather to me, Alaric, I'm afraid.
Yeah, for sure. So the cars making their way round on the formation lap, then we are getting ready to go green for 90 minutes of racing here at the Hungaroring. As always, a huge thank you to our production team behind the scenes. It's going to be Mike Yao on the broadcast and cameras, giving us those super slick, sexy cameras as always. And of course, we have Michael Hamlet whispering sweet nothings into our ear and giving us all of the very latest info and crucial tidbits as well. So the car's making their way around through just now, and apparently they are, about a quarter of the way round the lap. So, I mean, Nowakowski, with that pace that he's got right now, Alex, it is looking really, really good.
It is, but you have to watch out for the driver behind him, Amir Hosseini, because let's not forget, it was August 2020 that we hosted a round of the Sprint Cup, actually season 1 here, and back then it was 2 30-minute sprint races. So Amir Hosseini has a 100% success rate. So in my honest opinion, I could see the possibility of a fantastic battle between, at the very least, the top 4. But you know, we talked about David Brauner. He only installed the game yesterday, but to be in that position, that just showcases that Rocket Simsport could be another McLaren that could factor in.
So some important information coming through, and again, some of that vital clues and tidbits that we get passed to us behind the scenes. If the top 5 of the championship finish where they start, G2 Esports would only be 12 points behind H3, who would take over as leaders. Race 4 out of 6. I mean, now we're coming down to crunch time. That is potentially a pivotal change, but a lot can change, because obviously the BMW is really going to struggle tonight, but the pace to begin with for the first lap is going to be very, very slow. We'll keep our eye on what happens, because we are about to get ready to go green here at the Hungaroring. The cars making their way round 2.72 mile circuit here in Hungary. Rounds turn 14 on this formation lap. Dave Christie and Alex Goldschmidt taking you through the next 90 minutes of madness, chaos and excitement, as only we know how here on the sim grid. That's the cars safely 2 by 2 by 2 out of the final corner. We get ready to go green here at Hungaroring. The cars come across the line and we are away. Hosseini gets a great start and they're side by side going down to turn number 1. Hosseini could be into the lead before we even do it. Great move from Hosseini around the outside, like taking candy from a baby, and Nowakowski is under real pressure from 3rd and 4th place already. All the cars successfully around turn 1, down into turn 2 and then turn 3 just now. Turn 2, very difficult corner actually, because you've actually got a little bump on the left side. You want to bring the car over there into turn 3, but looks like everybody's surviving straight away through just now, and this is a very, very good start, Alex.
Yeah, 3 wide at some points going into turn 1. I think Devin Brauner made it 4 wide at one point before they hit the apex, and you can see quite a few other drivers moving up the order. Sheldon looks like Jack Noller battling away with the likes of, looks like James Parker and also Florian Becker, amongst others, even Marcel Fusi. You can just see that Jack Noller has made up another position, so he's up past Fusi, who's being pressurised by Florian Becker in the 111 XL by Henvelden car. But we're on board now with towards Idlo, who's got Devin Brauner trying to close, and that is one of the. That is Fusi. Fusi is off, and he's been turned around. And yeah, well, the thing is that Fusi literally has just ended up right at the tail end, Charlie, of the field, as Devin Brauner and Tinko van der Velde up into P9. Then you've got Benedetti. Now that Ferrari from GTWR has 25 kilos, and being that close, but Amir Hosseini has already catapulted into the distance like a scalded cat on a hot tin roof. He's 7/10 up ahead of the 25 from Carbon Simsport, Mikhail Nowakowski.
Yeah, huge first lap there, and he has to get the daylight in between himself and Nowakowski. That's so critically important at this early stage of the race. And Honzig has been absolutely mullered from the sounds of it. He was running in, I think that was about 18th place, that Jaroslav Honzig. He's back into 17th though, so Honzig, great sportsmanship from Manos Gerardis there in the 86 Ferrari, did come into contact with Jaroslav Honzig, but gives the place back immediately. I love that unwritten driver's code that these drivers adhere to. It's a wonderful sense, Alex, of sportsmanship. And what we've got to remember is that these drivers are racing each other not only in the Sprint Cup, but in various other championships throughout, day in, day out.
Yeah, also we've got round 2, the Thrustmaster 24-hour Spa-Francorchamps. That's in just a couple of weeks' time, qualifying on the 13th of May, and then the race, once around the clock, starts on the 15th of May. So we ride on board with Andrea Benedetti. He's got Tinko van der Velde just up ahead, and you can just see how close it is. I mean, just looking at it from this perspective, about 15 or so seconds covers from Hosseini all the way down to 28th place. That is Mark Balzer in the 31, and that's the Rutronic E-Racing car that had Patrick Pignoni in qualifying. But again, the patience starting to show from Benedetti. He's waiting until he gets through that apex and then can floor the throttle in the GTWR Ferrari. But Tinko van der Velde looking to maybe try and get a move up the inside of Devin Brauner, but we both know Devin Brauner, once you try and challenge him, he will not give that place up easily. And then towards Zilo's just up ahead, so that's a Ferrari McLaren battle, and that's for 7th, well, that's basically from 7th to 9th position at the moment, but Brauner looks to be rather close indeed. But then you look at the concertina effect, Benedetti, Volmuth, Corvello Costa, you've also got Mooney in there, so the battle from 7th to 9th now extends to 7th to 13th.
And that one is going to be an unfolding story. We'll be making sure that we keep our eyes and tell you all about that one. Darren King in 6th place there, but the gap now starting to come down at the lead again. Amir Hosseini under real pressure because Mikhail Nowakowski, fastest man in the circuit, 1:43.047, 2/10 faster on that last lap round, and brings it down to 2/10 of a second. Marius Tvorzidlo for Carbon Simsport Blue going a little bit wide there on the exit of turn 10, and brings Devin Brown back into contention. It's not looking too promising for Zitlo right now, because he's got a huge pile of cars trying to get past him right now, and he is literally the cork in that bottle right now. But look at this, Mikhail Nowakowski is hunting down Amir Hosseini to the point that it's only 4/10 of a second. Wild stuff. And that must have changed actually at some point during that lap, because you saw there the on-screen graphic very briefly saying that he was actually in P1 when he was in P2. Of course, it does take a couple of corners to update, so there's obviously something has happened with those two drivers, and I wonder if Nowakowski has went for a lunge.
I'm just going to be honest here. I've just seen Salvalainen from Griffax just put in a 1:42.993. I saw Hosseini, Whitehead, and Nowakowski take purple sectors in sectors 1, 2, and 3, respectively. But Salva-Lyons got that Merc well and truly fired up. Now, remember when they had that massive disaster? I think it was Snetterton the opening round, and they had that fight back, and they finished, I think it was P7 at the end. Like, they made up an insane amount of places. And we saw at Misano that Salva-Lyons was caught up in a few incidents as well. So Misano for them wasn't too great. Well, Misano was a good race for them. Imola wasn't a great race for them. But now things are starting to change. So I think really that this championship has been so up and down, like a yo-yo on a string. I don't think we're going to find out until we get to the finale at Suzuka on May 20th as to who are really going to be in the championship fight, because it is starting to sort of change, but there is a break starting to happen in the pack, and I can see a couple of them, one between Tinko van der Velde and Andrea Benedetti, and then the other one is between Raymond Mooney and Jack Noller. So the packs are starting to split. But you can see there's Giuseppe Montalbano in the Omega E-Racing car being followed by Darren King, and this is the battle over P7, so Ferrari versus Ferrari, as there was a little bit of a 2 and 8 between two drivers, and funnily enough that is between the 777 of Mooney and then the 33, that's Zenith Esports Covello Costa, and they are just over a quarter of a second adrift of each other. Now that looks to be that Benedetti kept it on the inside of Walmuth, and that was going through turn number 2 as they went into the right-hander at turn 3. But then you've got this almighty train here. James Parker down in 16th position, and we said that the BMW was going to struggle tonight. Gregor Schill has been able to make up places, but only as high as 25th, so it's about being the tortoise rather than the hare. I think that's what they've got to do. They've got to sort of try and get in. Now, everyone's going to score points tonight, but that's if they finish.
Yeah, that's a very, very big asterisk on that sentence there. If they finish indeed. You mentioned groups starting to develop, 7 separate groups that we've got through the field just now. The biggest one, as you said, is between P14. That is, of course, Jack Noller in the Ferrari number 36, all the way down to the GTR of Chris Sever, doing a cracking job of holding on to with that very, very big boy. Penalties have already started to come in, and it's not going to be a surprise because it's going to be a penalty for the number 41. That is a penalty because of the solo driver tonight, as well as Manos Gerardo still gets a penalty for a completely different reason. That is going to be for a incident. I've got a feeling that is when we saw the 285 going off of Marcel Fouzi.
No, that was,
that was for Jardier.
That was the contact between him and Jaroslav Honzik. Niels van der Kekelt, he's still watching, cheeky beggar. But yeah, so as we mentioned earlier, that if both drivers don't complete the race, it's 132nd pit stop and Amir Hosseini's just gone purple, 1 minute 42.9. So he's just fired that warning shot across the bows. That's Carly Atkins. And here comes James Parker versus Jaroslav Honzik. And this is on the run up through turn 4. Jardier trying to put it around the outside. Slots in behind the Mercedes and then has Manos Gerardis just behind. But Chris Sever in the Black Hawk Racing Nissan GTR has already got that thing up from... I'm just having a look now. Well, he started 20th. He's in 19th. They dropped, already. Sever's starting to put some pressure on, but Raymond Mooney is still keeping to within a quarter of a second of Covello Costa. And now Luke Whitehead being pressurised by Jonas Salvalainen, with Whitehead also pressurising Nowakowski. But Hosseini's got a gap now, David, just over 2 seconds.
Yeah, it's awesome stuff to see. Just looking at the 285, as we see Chris Vining on YouTube chat asking about the 285. Did they pit? A very good question. I know exactly why you're asking that, because the 285 now just shown about 15 seconds ahead of Amir Hosseini, who now jumps in that position. I mean, he's really leapfrogging in terms of pace everyone on the grid right now. 1:43.2. I think he's maybe just sort of gotten past the extremely good part of that tyre. This is up the insides to 285. Oh, well, yeah. We saw that happening, but that is a horrible, horrible rejoin. I've got to be honest, I mean, the brakes were clearly not, I don't think anyway, unless we get a rear view and he was holding it was the grass that spun him across, but it did just look like that car rolled on. We saw him going out, and I wondered if there was going to be a penalty for the car, but he's been the master of his own demise, as Marcel Fouzi.
Yeah, I mean, I've just heard that he was on brakes, and that was, funnily enough, one of our championship protagonists, the 111 of alphaspot.com, and that had Florian Becker behind the wheel. But, you know, Mr. Super Saturday was definitely slung sideways right there and then on that particular occasion. A real shame for Marcel, because we know of his calibre. And, yeah, we're going to have another look at the replay here. Now, this is between Gerardis and Honzik. Now, this is going into T1. So, Gerardis, yeah, that was a turnaround and a little bit of a yeah, I think at the end of the day, Gerardis did exactly the right thing, but then that allowed Carly Atkins in the 42 to go through. So, yeah, I think Gerardis did exactly the right thing, you know, gentleman's etiquette or driver's etiquette, you know, to give the place back, saying, yeah, my bad, sorry, big F from me, and, you know, gave Jardier the place back. No harm, no foul, but race control. We were told at the beginning of the season, weren't we, David, that penalties would at least be a drive-through unless race control decided that it was a severer penalty that was required. And this has been in force ever since, as we were on board with Raymond Mooney, and he's still behind the number 33, and that is Nathan Covello Costa. And you can see there, they've got, that's Walmuth and Benedetti just up ahead.
Certainly is, and just to clarify that one actually, because in case anyone in chat is thinking, oh well, you know, he gave the position up, why is he still being given a penalty? The simple fact is, Callie Atkins got through. You know, Jaroslav hasn't been able to get that place back. He's been impeded. He's lost a position because of it, and yes, it's very good that, as we see Covello Costa, having a bit of a wild moment there, and Raymond Mooney just says thank you very much. He's not going to need a second invitation like that. You give him the opportunity to take that, and he will absolutely take it. But I mean, back to that penalty, it's a relatively small one. It's 10-second time penalty. Yeah, it is what it is. A very just one. And yeah, it's a slap on the wrist. It's to discourage drivers from doing that sort of stuff. We don't want them thinking that they can do these push to pass manoeuvres.
You know what's really funny? Now, who was it that said placed a bet on a tattoo? Who was that?
I'm pretty sure it was Alaric Kinsland, the same gentleman that is. Yeah, he's obviously checkbook is bigger than his bank balance right now. So we're already in debt. Alaric, we want to see the proof of the first tattoo you promised us, and then we'll take you on your second bet. But for just now, back to the race, 1 hour 15 left to go, and Amir Hosseini now really starting to open up a little bit of a gap there, 2.5 seconds ahead of Nowakowski in that number 25 McLaren. Again, it looks great on paper, but can almost instantly be wiped out during the pit stop run, which will be coming up in about 25 minutes time. Strategy plays such an important part here of the Sprint Cup. Very important to keep an eye on that, and you will see some huge moments happening. Jack Noller, though, down into 22nd place there.
Yeah, there was an incident on turn 1 involving him, so you know he was running up in P14, P13, and the Ferrari had really good pace. But yeah, I think you know, you talked about this word, patience, and I think that even though we're just over 15 minutes in, the patience of some drivers has not yet settled. They want to try and get past, as we've got Maximilian Verdi battling away with Hump Racing Team's Ben Hitz. So good to have the number 4 back with us this evening. There's Mark Balzer in. Now, just look ahead. I mean, he's got Rob Taplin from the 214 NSN Racing crew, who Also has Christopher Streppe from Belgium alongside him. You see that there is a hell of a train. You've got Jan Kaminski, Gregor Schill in 23rd, Jack Noller actually just ahead of the BMW. And I've been looking at Schill's lap times. He's been running anywhere between a mid 1:44 and a mid 1:45. So Gregor Schill, I think, is just doing like the strategic thing, as there's Grigory Ivanov all the way down in 21st, as very up the inside of hits. And that allows the possibility for Grigory Ivanov to go through, as Jan Kaminski has got Gregor Schill going toe-to-toe with him, the pair heading down into turn 2. And even with 35 kilos of ballast, Gregor Schill is still willing to do the switcheroo attempt on Jan Kaminski going through turn 2 in that BMW. That's brave, but then Mark Balzer runs a little bit wide, Rob Taplin, and Gerardis is all the way down in 27th. Then you've got the 911. That's of the MSR. Well, that's the MSR Liga endurance team, and that's got Jarno Karash behind the wheel, and Marcel Fusi. Is probably going to be the first driver that is going to get lapped this evening, because Amir Hosseini is nearly 2.4 seconds up the road from Michal Nowakowski.
I know the Europeans like their trains, but this is starting to take the mick just a little bit. An incredible 6-car battle starting from Jack Noller all the way back to Taplin in that 214. Tim Burke too, very quickly answer this one. What's the difference between Assetto Corsa Competizione GT3 cars and PC2 GT3 cars? So of course PC2 is Project Cars 2. As somebody that's raced in both of them, Project Cars 2 it's very simple, very, very what they call simcade. It looks great, great fun to play, but it doesn't really give you a realistic experience. Certainly not to the likes of Assetto Corsa Competizione. The wonderful thing about ACC now is that you've got this incredibly easy to use, incredibly approachable sim that even if you're a complete beginner, you can just jump in and get used to it straight away. So that is the main difference. GT2, the Project Cars 2 ones look great, they look on point, but they just don't handle like the real life counterparts. It's not very realistic at all, but still incredibly fun. There you go. An hour and 10 minutes left to go in the race, and Gregor Schill, I mean, he is doing remarkably well. And I think the thing is that pace-wise, we're down into the 143, 144, so his lower lap time isn't really affected as much, so he's maybe got a chance to kind of keep in with the, say, outwards of the top 50.
Yeah, I think so. And one of the other things here, David, you look at who he's partnered with, Arthur Camara, and there's an updated team standing. So at the moment, H3 Racing on 168, BMW Team G2 Esports 156, alphasport.com 146, Carbon Simsport 145, Tauro 140, but the biggest name to drop out of there is Send It Racing, as there is Sal Volainen still trying to put the pressure on Luke Whitehead, and that's going through turn 1 and into turn 1A, now into the left-hander that goes down the dip through turn 2. And sometimes you do have it on the odd occasion where drivers do get that lack of patience. That's the mantra word tonight, isn't it? Patience, David. But we know what we have here, that we do have patience, and then we have Bedlam following rather quickly. But to be honest with you, I think the strategy is going to be the key point, because we're not seeing as many overtakes as we have seen at the previous circuits over the last 3 rounds, which would have been Snetterton, Misano and Imola. Here at the Hungaroring, it's about keeping your friends close, but your enemies even closer.
Certainly is, and patience is not a word that I ever thought would be in my vocabulary, and yet here we are using it. Currently watching the 699 of James Parker for Send It Racing, hunting down, stalking in the shadows of Kali Atkins right now, and he's going to have to watch because Jaroslav Honzik is in the shadows as well, hunting, waiting to pounce on these two AMGs. Huge news from Race Control, actually. Callie Atkins under investigation at the moment. We'll have to scour the replays to find out what that is all about. Dan King, we haven't really said much about Dan. Still doing a great job there, up in 6th place, hunting down the number 10 of Montalbano in that 5th place. Giuseppe Montalbano in the number 10. Again, it's amazing to see how we've got two of everything. We've got two McLarens in P1 and 2. We've got two Ferraris in 5 and 6, two McLarens in 7 and 8, and then we've got 5 Ferraris for the rest of the field. It's literally the McLaren and Ferrari show right now, and if anything, I think that shows what a stellar drive that is from Jonas Salvalainen in that 77 Merc to be up there in 4th place. And not only that, I mean, he is really, really doing well.
Yeah, there's plenty of 2x2 hurrah tonight here at the Hungaroring, as now we're going to go to replay. Now this is Jack Noller in the number 36 GT Omega RPM Esports Ferrari, and that is the 111. And oh yeah, that's why Callie Atkins is being investigated, because that was a tag from behind going into T1. Yeah, because Sheldon Muscat said, yeah, we got hit. Yeah, we got hit T1. Like that, like literally just emblazoning it on the YouTube chat. So yeah, Callie Atkins currently under investigation. I think possibly a little bit about braking happened there.
Yeah, that's a little bit of an awkward one, isn't it? You have to try and explain that one to Race Control, but nonetheless, we go back to the action here. Still Amir Hosseini, 2.8 seconds. It's now 3.1 seconds of a lead from first to 2nd place. As far as this first stint goes, I think that's sealed and in the bag right now. It's all going to come down to pit stops right now. The pace just isn't there for the number 25 of Nowakowski right now. We're watching on the back of James Parker for Send It Racing in the 699 as he is under attack from Jaroslav Honzing. Nice little look up the inside from one of the Porsches. That's the 111 of Florian Becker on Andrea Benedetti into turn 1 there, but the Porsche backs out, thinks better of it. This is for P13 and 14, and you've got Covello Costa, who was in the wars, in the thick of it, is now all by himself up there in 12th place. So yeah, awesome racing all round, and I've got to be honest, I'm touching every single desk and windowsill that I have in this office here, but it has been a remarkably calm race so far, and we've had a couple of very small, very minor incidents, but yeah, I could get used to this quality of competition.
I mean, to be honest, with how close that qualifying session was, you know, the whole field split by just under 2 seconds. Now, someone has had a bit of a moment. I would imagine that's Nathan Covello Costa that has just put 2 wheels on the very, very dusty grass here at the Hungaroring. Funnily enough, the region of where the Hungaroring is actually, according to the National Office of Tourism in Hungary, the 3rd most visited place in this nation, after the Danube Bend and also a local lake. So yeah, Hungary, you know, it's hosted Formula One since it opened, 86. So this track has had a lot of hallowed names go through its halls over years past. But yeah, I mean, coming back to, you know, we've got an Intermerc scrap now, Callie Atkins. You can see James Parker has clearly got the all lights blazing on that car. It was Jonas Salvalainen still closing in on Luke Whitehead. And Jardier, even with that amount of ballast on that Audi, which is 26 kilos, he's still doing a rather good job. But again, I mean, drive of the evening so far, considering of the fact that we have pretty much all of the top 13 bar 1 being represented by either Woking or Maranello, and then all of a sudden there's a lone wild Mercedes from Affalterbach that's appeared in 4th place.
Here's another interesting dynamic as well. I think the Merck's tyres are going to last a little bit better than the Ferrari and the McLaren in front of him. So watch him. I think as soon as he can get past Luke Whitehead, and he will get past Luke Whitehead in the next lap or so, it's just going to happen. He's lapping about 3/4 tenths of a second faster than Whitehead's in front in that 404 machine. But then he's going to have Nowakowski and Tassini, and while he might not be able to catch them before the pit window opens, puts him definitely in a very, very good position for when the pit stops do come in, and he hands that machine over to Jesse Kalpinen.
Yeah, Carly Atkins looks to have a drive-through penalty. I would imagine that's for that contact a little bit earlier on that caused Jack Noller. It is. So second penalty of the evening, the first drive-through given to Carly Atkins in the number 42 PC Boys Esports Mercedes for avoidable contact into turn 1 on lap 6 on the number 36 of GT Omega RPM Esports Jack Noller. So that was a slam dunk penalty right there.
Yeah, you're not going to get too many of them that you just watch it and you're like, yep, that's the jury, or sorry, the defence rests its case. Rob Taplin, though, for NSN Racing on the back of Gregor Schill, and this is a car we thought was going to be struggling against another car that we thought was going to be struggling down in turn 1, a little bit of contact, a little bit of a hip check, and that's going to cost Aston way more than it's going to cost the BMW, because Baltzar in that 31 is going to go round the outside through 1A on the brakes into turn 2. The Aston tries to outbrake that big heavy brick of a car. It's that fine example of British engineering. Gets itself through turn 3 and back onto the accelerator there. Brilliant move there. Baltzar just going to have to regroup and think again, but he's also got Manos Gerardis behind him.
Yeah, also another drive-through has been issued. This might be for track limits. Marcel Fusi, as if the race wasn't bad enough getting turned around earlier on lap, very early on this race. It's gone from bad to worse, and I think both Fusi and also Harry Spears will definitely be putting this one well and truly as water under the bridge. So that could be for track limits. And to be honest with you, Rob Taplin trying to keep Gregor Schill rather honest, and that's going through turn 12 and into turn 12A before 13. And one of the things, again, you said about patience, there's also another thing that we haven't talked about. I talked about using the correct map for the track, but also the setup. The other thing is momentum. Like say when you come through turn 12, you're hard on the anchors, you rotate the car in, then you got a slight kick, then you got a left-hand 180 degree hairpin that goes on forever. Then you got turn 14, the inverted side of that. So you've got to carry the right amount of momentum through those corners, because the main opportunity for overtaking is going down into turn 1. I've seen it before where you can go through from turn 3 to turn 4, and if you're close enough with the car in front, you can possibly drag your way past, but it's rather difficult. I mean, you're now seeing I saw Mark Baltzar from Ruchoniki Racing actually flashing the lights at Gregor Schill and Rob Taplin a little bit earlier, probably for something that occurred. Gerardis just behind still, and the Greek driver not getting any further than 25th position, as we're literally just under 60 seconds away from hitting the hour mark, so nearly a third of this race gone. And one of the things that has impressed me about this race, apart from the fact, okay, people will say, yeah, it's a bit boring, there's no overtaking or anything, but just the fact that a lot of people, we've had, 2 penalties so far? Touch wood, in this race, and it has been rather clean. But it's also been the fact that everyone's having to put on their A game, so like, I've got to hit the anchors here, or I might have to brake a little bit earlier because the car in front's braking a little bit late. So they're having to strategize, not just on the tyre wear, but also on the fuel, and also the other question is that there's a lot of stop, start, stop, start. So you're accelerating, then you're braking. You're accelerating, you're braking. You're accelerating, you're braking. And that can run out the brake pads. And if you put the wrong set of brake pads on, that could also cause you a problem in the race.
Certainly can, with an hour left to go in round 4 of the Sprint Cup Season 3 here on the Sim Grid with David Christie and Alex Goldschmidt taking you through all of the action tonight. It's still currently Amir Hosseini leading Mikhail Novikowski in the 92 McLaren. Out front for Tauro ahead of the Carbon SimSport outfit. That is 1 and 2. It's then Luke Whitehead in the 404 for H3 Racing. He's going to be handing over that car very shortly to Hamada Erkizi. And then in 4th place, we see this wonderful little scrap here from Jonas Salvalainen in that 77 from Griffax Engineering. Again, he'll be handing that over to Jesse Kalpanen. And Jesse couldn't have asked for a better position to be in. Just, you've got that hint of a podium coming up, and everything could change. We'll find out in the mandatory pit stop that comes up in just over 8 minutes' time. Tinko van der Velde has a little look to Devin Brown in that number 22 Rocket McLaren, but it comes across the line to start again. And I've got to be honest, I think McLaren has the pace on that Ferrari every single day of the week.
Yeah, I mean, Van der Velde looking up the inside of Devin Brown, going through into turn 1. Oh, that was rather close. But good awareness from Devin Brown as that was going through into turn 1, now into turn 1A. And this is the only circuit that I've seen, like through all the track maps that I've sort of looked at here on the sim grid. It's the only one where you've got a turn 1 and a turn 1A, then you've got a turn 12 and a turn 12A. And it says, yeah, this has got 14 corners. Well, that makes it effectively 16, even though these two like A corners are sort of like slight nuances of corners, not like the full Monty.
But it is a wonderful circuit, and we spoke about it during the track map. And obviously a very fast but very flowing circuit, and that's what makes it so difficult for overtaking here, because you're either on the full throttle or you're on the brakes. It's not sort of a halfway house where a car can fire it up the inside if it feels brave, maybe with the exception of turn 1 and turn 5, but for the rest of it, it's just a case of get yourself tucked in and wait for your opportunity. And waiting is the name of the game. We've said it numerous times through the broadcast tonight. Patience is the key word tonight. Jonas Salvalainen has it by the absolute bucket load in that 4th place. We're looking on the rear wing of Luke Whitehead. Wonderful livery on that car that is currently trying to defend that P3 right now from Salvalainen from that 77. Down into turn 1 is notch up another lap, starting lap number 19. And the other thing that I've just noticed as well is have a look in the background, because the number 10 of Giuseppe Montalbano is there, but also 6th place of Darren King now coming into this hunt. And the longer that Luke Whitehead is able to delay this is potentially going to cause more issues for Salvalainen.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's an all-Italian lineup this time at Omega E Racing Team. They've got Francesco Pellegrini alongside Giuseppe Montalbano. But yeah, I mean, Whitehead doing a really good job. 3rd place. They've both him and Hamarda Erquizi. One of the other things that I've noticed about this is that some of the rear wing end plates, you'll see that on one side it will have the Union Jack, and then the other side you'll have so they'll invert it. So on the right hand side you've got the Union Jack flag for Luke Whitehead, and then on the inside you've got the Moroccan star for Hamada Erquizi, and then they've done exactly the same but switched it around on the other side of the wing plate, the end plate on that rear wing. So yeah, some really, as always here on the Sim Grid, some fantastic livery designs, H3 Racing notwithstanding. But third place, that's 56 points, and when you look at it, that's okay. Take out Imola in the DNF, where they had that moment going through Tamburello. Is now Tinko van der Velde again going toe to toe with Devin Brauner. They have been consistently in the top 3 whenever they finished. When it's been a DNF, it's an automatic no score. So we'll have a look. Let's see if we can have a look at the updated standings as of right now with 53. So 55. Yeah. So we'll wait for the updated standings to come up. But Devin Brauner just having gone onto the Assetto Corsa Competizione platform yesterday by installing the game, and to fend off someone like Tinko van der Velde is not an easy feat. As there you can see, it hasn't really changed. So H3 Racing, on the benefit of 3 third place finishes out of 4, that's really helped them out this season.
It certainly has. It's a huge update to the team standings then. H3 Racing, as we said, take over the lead of the championship by just 12 points. And this is what we were saying earlier on, but look at that for 3rd and 4th and 5th place. Elfer Spot, Carbon Sim Sport and Send It Racing. 1 point between them. That's how close it is. And make no mistake, that's still within contention. We've got another 2 races to go after tonight. And that puts elferspot.com, Carbon Sim Sport in contention as well. They're only 20 odd points behind for that championship run. So, I mean, that is huge changes to the championship. But I've got to be honest, I think that's maybe a get out of jail free card for Gregor Schill, and an excellent performance from that G2 Esports, given how badly that car is affected tonight. For them to minimise the gap, and if they can take a couple of more places, I mean, that will be huge. That will bring that gap even closer.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, if it was to finish as it does right now, Gregor Schill would earn 8 points. Team G2 Esports would earn 8 points. But then if they got into, say, the top 15, hypothetically, you put them in P11, then there's going to be a bit of a change, because then that's 30 points. But to be honest with you, if both Gregor Schill and Arthur Camara, if they get into the top 20, they get towards, like say, if they can get as close to P16 at the end of this race, that'll give them all the impetus, and they won't have ballast again. And that means that at Zolder, a track where BMWs do actually run pretty well, there could be a little bit of a silver lining behind the cloud that is, well, figuratively here at the Hungaroring for BMW Team G2 Esports.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see how that goes, though. But Luke Whitehead for H3 Racing, my goodness me. The sponge, the sheer size of the shoulders that young lad has, and contact between Tinko van der Velde and Devin Brown. It was a matter of time. Devin Brown stranded in the middle of the track, and he's going to go down in position, get to safe park. Love that, absolutely love that, and I need to take a moment out to appreciate that from Devin Brown. The temptation there could have been just to stick the foot in, get the car whipped back round, but he didn't. He held off it and waited for a safe point to rejoin. That is how you rejoin a race.
Yeah, and we got 90 seconds until the pit stop window officially opens for the 4th time this season. But yeah, like you say, Luke Whitehead has been a sponge. He's 5.1 seconds behind Michal Nowakowski, who in turn is 5 seconds behind Amir Hosseini. Now, one of the things that Alaric Enslin did mention about was foot injury, and he said, like, this Amir's putting me to shame because I've got this foot injury. Well, to be honest with you, the main thing that Taro have to do is to bring it home. And looking at the standings, having come into this round, they weren't, when we looked at it last time, Taro didn't do Snetterson. We had internet problems for Alaric, and Amir wasn't able to attend. Then they had a win at Misano, and then we also had a DNF for Amir. So the car's under investigation. No surprise here. Tinko van der Velde is under investigation for that incident between himself and Devin Browner. But the other car that is also under investigation is the number 31, and that car is Rutronic E-Racing with Mark Baltzer behind the wheel. So that is an incident involving him, and looks to be the 214 of Rob Taplin from NSN. But now, just having now that we've just gone back to this battle here between Montalbano and King towards Idlo in the number 7 has started closing. We're now going to go to another replay here. Now this is actually on board with Tinko van der Velde, so gets a good run coming out of the corner, decides to launch it. That's
poor.
That to me says slam dunk, unfortunately.
Yeah, 100%. This is what makes it really, really more disappointing, is the fact that we've seen Tinko van der Velde on many, many occasions. We know how fast he is, and we know how how clean a driver he is, how controlled a driver he is. So to see that, I mean, that's just poor. That's poor car control. Tries to fire it up the inside. The gap was never going to be there. It's closed before it could even do it. It's a difficult one. Normally, I would say, if he tucked it up the inside and had it, but the car was sliding on straight, he was never going to make the corner. That's my opinion. Don't know what race control will think of it. And it's great to see that we're getting disagreed with. James Bacon saying that was the McLaren's fault for being blind and not seeing him. Obviously, that's exactly what it is. But the thing is, I mean, joking aside, I'm going to presume that is some sarcasm there. That's some Scottish quality sarcasm, if it is going on there.
Well, he always does bring the banter, does James Bacon, and look, he's already started laughing at his own joke.
Yeah, exactly.
But pit stop window is open there. Montalbano who's now pitted, so that's released Darren King. Ivanov, when he comes in, he's going to have to serve a 10-second stop go before the car can get worked on. Felix Ruppert in the pits. Thibaut Props has now taken over from Andrea Benedetti. So the pit stops are coming in thick and fast at this moment. So and Marcel Fusi has done the drive-through penalty. Well, he's served the drive-through penalty. There's Florian Becker in the alphaspot.com Porsche. The 111 closing on Nathan Covello Costa, and look who's just behind him, James Parker from Send It Racing. There's still 7.5 minutes of this pit stop window to go. Now White has just had a moment, and that has allowed Griphax Engineering's Jonas Salvalainen to get through, and that would have been possibly round about between turn 5 and turn 7. So that was out of the exit of turn 7. Where Luke Whitehead had a moment, so that's given Salvalainen an opportunity, and the Finn has gotten past, but it hasn't hurt H3 that much, and the reason being is that 4th place is still going to give you a fairly good amount of points. Okay, that's 4 points in the virtual championship standings that they've lost to G2. But it's not going to phase them. All it needs now is for Whitehead and Arquizi just to keep things calm, keep a cool head, and not panic.
That's easier said than done, but I mean they will still take the championship lead. But for Savalainen, I think it's too little, too late, because I think that their opportunity was if they could have got past at an earlier point. But here's the replay then, and it's that's just over the curb on the chicane, and I mean it looks bad. But he's actually not lost all that much time because he can just slip straight back in. And there you go, confirmation then, ladies and gentlemen. The number 96 Ferrari of Sidemax Motorworks of Tinko van der Velde gets a drive-through penalty. You said slam dunk. I think that was very, very obviously the case. As Florian Becker, that's a very unusual line round that corner. I think he might have... I don't know, maybe he heard the jingle of an ice cream van, wanted to take a little pit stop, but that's definitely not the way around the corner here.
Well, you'd also, I think the thing is that the other thing that we've got to watch out for now, speeding in the pit lane, that's an instant stop go 30, and we've had that many times.
Oh no.
On what's the 0-0 for?
I don't know, it's because the Ivanov's got a 10-second penalty.
He's got to serve that. That's solo driver. So solo. It's about those drivers. So James Parker will have now handed over to Charlie Crossland in the 699 Send It Racing car. But as now Darren King jumps into the pit, so that allows Towards Zidlo to go up a position into 4th place. So Charlie Crossland now trying to get those tyres on that Mercedes up to temperature. But yeah, I think. There we go. We have got a stop go 30. Alex Johnston in the 42 from PC Boys Esports has got a stop go 30 for speeding in the pit lane. So whether that was him exiting the pits or was it Carly Atkins coming into the pits that has caused that infraction?
That's exactly why I mentioned the 41. I heard whispers in my ear of speeding in the pit lane, and then I instantly saw the 41, forgot that they had that penalty anyway, and quite honestly it was PTSD kicking back in for what was about to happen. But leader is leaving the pit lane, so that means that that is a fairly decent timed stop for your race leader at the moment, and with just over 50 minutes, let's have a look here, 43 minutes left to go in the race. I mean, that is a really good lap time to get that car in, pitted and out again with Alara Kensland behind the wheel. I mean, they're not going to be too unhappy at that one.
No, not at all. I mean, the thing is that you had Hosseini and Nowakowski pitting at the same time, pretty much. But my biggest question here, Salvalainen, he hasn't pitted yet and will be coming through turn 13 imminently. So will Griffax decide to pit their car very shortly? Looks like they have actually entered into the pit. So it was a case of just pushing like crazy. But then you got towards the... so Salvalainen will be in the pits, which has now been confirmed on the timing tower. As there's Hamada Erquisi trying to get past Francesco Pellegrini in the number 10 Omega E racing car. And then Jan Willem van Ormen has now also taken over from Darren King. Nick Babin in the 25 and Alarie Enslin from for Taro. Enslin, one of the drivers that took the Season 2 crown here on Sprint Cup. But we've only got just over 2.5 minutes remaining. And everyone is now serving their pit stops, but apart from Tinko van der Velde. And what are they going to do? Are they going to... You know what? This sounds very much like what Sasha de Glatter and Chris Sever did at the first round at Snetterton. Glatter got a penalty, handed the car over to Sever, and I've mentioned this before. I think I mentioned this last time out a couple of weeks ago. Sever got in the car, served the drive-through on the next lap, and then went on a binge of speed. And just went for it and made up an absolutely inhumane amount of positions.
Yeah, so it's only the pit stop left to do because they've done the drive-through, so that could very well happen. There's Armada Erquisi having a look up the inside into turn 1 of Pellegrini in that number 10. Francesco Pellegrini in the 488 GT3 Evo trying to hang on to that position. The 404 of H3 Racing tries to tuck up the inside of turn 2. I've got to be honest, Pellegrini being very generous with the amount of room that he's allowing to Erquisi as they go through turn 3 just now. But Erquisi, I mean, if you are Pellegrini right now, that car is all over your mirrors. I'd be getting very nervous right now. Not because Erquisi's necessarily going to fire it up, but just because he's making so much motion. He's so distracting, and that's exactly why the car is jinking from right to left to right again, whereas normally you'd think, oh well, he wants to try and be as still as possible, keep the car in a straight line. But no, you want to distract your opponent. You want to make them make the mistake for you, so you don't have to put yourself at risk and try and make that overtaking opportunity.
Yeah, very much the case. We're into the last just under 60 seconds to go in the pit stop window, and yeah, it looks like everyone has, well, let's just see, has the 96 pitted is the biggest question, and if they have pitted, that's great. If not, then so that is confirmed. So the entire field now are green and ready to go flat out racing as Hamarda Erquisi, that was coming out of turn 13 on Francesco Pellegrini from Omega E Racing, and that's one of the things you mentioned about the fact that you want to distract your opponent. And one of the things is that if you distract your opponent and you don't, like here, Erquisi is looking up the inside. That's a great move. Lunged right up the inside through turn 1 on Pellegrini, and Pellegrini runs wide. Erquisi's got the run. That's a great move from the Moroccan, and he's got it done before turn 2.
My goodness me, I wonder if he had a collection for that, because he absolutely sent that from another postcode going into turn one there. Great move there, and nice to see that getting done from Urquizy on Pellegrini there. Tinko van der Velde falling down the order after the aforementioned pit stop there. Will probably come out in about P12 or P13. We'll have a look as they tumble down the order just now. Cracking little battle though. The train has left the station for P13 because it's Lago Montero, Glatter, Crossland, Barrier and Desprez in this little battle going on. And this is what makes it exciting when you're driving these little endurance races, Alex, is the fact that you get stuck into these little battles, and this is what your entire race consists of, is beating these 5 drivers in front of you. Because once you're on your own, then it's like, well, I'm just lapping by myself. But when you're in this, the adrenaline that courses through you is absolutely incredible. It's so much fun, but then it's a case of you have to be so careful to not let that adrenaline get too much and be very controlled in what you're actually doing.
I think sometimes adrenaline can overcome people with regards to, like, you're literally, you're psyched up, you wanna go for town, the red mist descends, and then all of a sudden, you get to that point where that adrenaline starts to peter off. You've hit your plateau and it starts coming down. You're sort of thinking, I'm not feeling 100% now, because you've had all that. You're like a kid that's been in the sweet shop and gotten everything that you wanted, and you've eaten it all, and you've had that straight away, that sugar come down. That's effectively the same as adrenaline. So the endorphins and the serotonin, it's not working as it should do. As you can see now, Valentin Barrier looking up the inside of Charlie Crossland. One of the biggest things I'm going to point out here, though, David, is that Valentin Barrier is on that very, very thin white line between having 10 kilos, him and Jarier having 10 kilos of ballast for next time out at Zolder in 2 weeks, or having 0 ballast and gaining 15 points.
For sure, and that's one of the wonderful thing about this Sprint Cup is the permutations, as we see Lucas Kreuzer going very wide on the exit of corner 3 there, and that loses him a lot of time. And this next thing the same thing happens to Charlie Crossland for Send It Racing, again compromising himself. That then backs everyone up, and Valentin Barrier now thinking of having a little go with Boris Desprez in that 289 Ferrari as well. So it's a brilliant little fight going on. But again, the Sprint Cup is wonderful because you get these little storylines developing. It's almost like watching a soap on TV. Every time out, every round, there's something different happening. There's always something subtle, some unresolved battles from round 1 flare up again in round 4. It's absolutely brilliant, and really enjoying it here. And the thing is with 35 minutes to go, I think the top 5 are going to be very happy, but the everyone outside the top 10 are going to be fighting like hell to get in there.
Yeah, I think you're very much right there, David. But at the moment, with 36 minutes and 23 seconds on the clock, Alaric Enslin for Taro, they've got a 7.2 second gap between themselves and the number 25. That's got Nick Babin behind the wheel, and then the 77. A great effort so far from not just Jonas Salvalainen but also Jesse Kalpinen, who round out the top 3, and then it's the 377 of Darren King and Jan Willem van Holmen who are rounding out the top 4, and then it's David Balwas rounding out the top 5 ahead of Hamarda Urquizy. So yeah, these stories, they're still going to be told. The track temperature, though, David, has increased ever so slightly. A slight amount of wind pickup, but we're going to replay.
Yeah, we certainly are. This is on the exit of the chicane into... Oh, that's two cars into one, just not going. That's the 31. And wow, that is a double hit there. And that's unfortunate to see.
Yeah, that was the 214 NSN Aston Martin that had the double whack from the 31 from Rushonic E Racing there. But again, it's just showing how the patience in some respects is not happening because the red mist has come down. And once, as you said, once that adrenaline is coursing through your veins and you've got these situations that you have to respond to, it can sometimes be a split-second decision that could either be the right call or cost you a significant amount of positions, as we see Boris Desprez behind Valentin Barrier, and Desprez goes towards the outside, heading into T1, and you're not going to be able to do that around the outside, I'm afraid, on Valentin Barrier, but in the Audi, which still has over 20 kilos worth of ballast. And for them to be in that position still after, close to an hour of racing, despite the fact that Jardier got turned around earlier on in the race by Manasteradis from TF Racing, who will have now handed over to Yanis Tsaknis as well. So, and they're down in 26th position. Here's another replay we're going to. Now this is that was Tsaknis going wide, and there goes Sasha Glatter up the inside in the 81, and Tsaknis turned in, caught the right rear of the Nissan and got turned 90 right.
Yeah, that's a bit of an awkward one. But on looking at that, and again, I might have just not been paying attention enough to that. I don't think there was a penalty there. I just, the car was still alongside it at that point in time when the car on the left tried to turn for the right-hander. So yeah, that's for me, that's a racing instant, but it's a silly one. I mean, you don't need to be doing that with still, at least 40 minutes left to go in the race. 41 gets a drive-through for track limits. The PTSD was a premonition because it's waiting to happen. But Ivanov, that's your own making, isn't it? You get some very generous track limits here at Hungaroring, but it is bitting them in the behind rather quickly. Going back to a previous point you made, Alex, about reaction times and how it can all go horribly wrong in a fraction of a second. I can't tell you the amount of times I've been in a sim race, either in a league or just on a random race, and that's exactly what happens. Within quarter of a second, you go for a gap that you think is there, and suddenly it's not there. You hit the wall, and the amount of times I've absolutely raged at the other driver, convinced that it's their fault. And there is no worse feeling in sim racing, Alex, than when you watch that replay and you realise that you've got nobody else but yourself to blame.
Yes, it was at this point he knew when he mucked up.
I like that. I was waiting for a bleep there, but I'll take that one.
The thing is at least you can change one letter and it changes the politically correctness of the sentence in one fell swoop.
And also the broadcastability.
Exactly. We're all about being, it's all about the bounce here in the commentary box here at the Sim Grid, but, at the end of the day, we do have to watch our P's and Q's.
Well, some of us, being Scottish, I get a passport for that sort of thing anyway. Anyway, back to the race.
Post?
It's allegedly it's still in the post. Back to the race though. Half an hour left to go in round 4 of the sprint grid, the sprint cup, even here on the sim grid. If I can actually get my words out properly, Felix Rupert currently trying to catch up on the back of Pellegrini. I've got a horrible feeling I'm not going to be hearing the end of that one, but this is a cracking little battle. The gaggle of Ferraris still duking it out between themselves, but Rupert is right on the back of Pellegrini. Pellegrini, I think, has got the pace to handle on, but again, has to be so careful when running on the exit of turn 5 there. So easy to go very, very wide. And just coming back, as we see Danny Gusa in the number 4 getting a drive-through penalty as well. That's almost certainly going to be for track limits, I would imagine, on that as well. In the 41 and the 4, they're very aggressive drivers, very, really, really fast drivers, but how much of that comes at a cost when you're getting a drive-through?
Yeah, it's, especially if you're pushing like crazy. And at the end of the day, Danny Gusa having a 1.6 gap between himself and Grigory Ivanov has just served a drive-through penalty. Track limits here at the Hungaroring can be exceeded quite significantly, and when you think about it, you're having to concentrate on so many different things as well. So you're having to think of, are you going to have to make a move? As there's Damien Paulus trying to go toe-to-toe with Van Orman, and Arquizi literally was closing. And look, Arquizi has got over a nearly 5.5 second gap between himself and Pellegrini. So now Arquizi is trying to get to the top 4. So yeah, there's so much that you're thinking about. You've probably got your teammate in your ear on the relevant server that you're on. You're possibly switching some of these settings on your steering wheel whilst you're driving along. And the main point, if you're going to do it at a circuit like this at Hungaroring, you've really got to sort of either do it not mid-corner or do it down the main straightaway.
For sure, and that's the one thing that really, really baffles me about these alien drivers, these super, super quick drivers, is that there's usually several changes that they make per lap. And I just, as someone who struggles to point the car in the right direction, that is like, you know, being able to do that and change the fuel map to fuel map 2 or to fuel map 1 and change the ABS mid-corner. It's just bewildering. But Arthur Kammerer getting held out to dry there by Patrick Pignon in the Audi. What a recovery drive from Pignon! Oh, and there's contact, and around and around and around goes the 377 of Jan Willem van Ormen. There's chaos in the midfield with 30 minutes left to go. 2 cars trying to recover, and that is on turn 13 on the entry into turn 14. Jan Willem van Ormen gets going again. That moves Arquizi up to 4th place there. Oh my goodness me, that was some proper heart and mouth moment action there, Alex.
You know what this means? That has given the biggest door opening for 404 H3 Racing. Hamada Arquizi, I bet he was smiling like the Cheshire, the Cheshire cat from Alice in Wonderland. And Danny Gooser, we've just had that confirmed from Haupt Racing Team. He will serve a drive-through penalty due to track limits. But it was just the case that it was only a matter of time before Paulus decided to go up the inside of Van Ormen, and it ended in tears. And that was going through turn 13. And then all of a sudden you see Van Ormen to one side, Paulus to the other, and Paulus is waiting. Well, he was moving slowly, but then there was traffic coming through. So the likes of Pellegrini, Ruppert. Actually, we haven't mentioned the number 16 at all this race, apart from when we did the hot lap with Maximilian Volmuth. Earlier on during quali. Now, where did they start? Just trying to have a look now. The 16th, they started in 12th position, and now Felix Ruppert is challenging Francesco Pellegrini for P5. So, and then you got Jan Willem van Ormen just behind. So a 3-way scrap for 5th position, not too shabby.
Certainly isn't. It's a great thing to have, and I've got to be honest, I mean, Paulus now is starting to drop away at the back of that group there, but it's currently Arquizi from Pellegrini. Here we go with a replay then, 377 of Jan Willem van Ormen. Ouch, 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 in the middle of the track as well, Alex, and insult to injury on the back. And Paulus, look, he's tried to do the right thing, he's tried to hold off and let Jan Willem van Ormen back through, but we've seen early on tonight that is almost 100% going to be a penalty of some sort for Damian Pavlos. Yeah,
I think very much the case. It was the same with Gerardis from TF Racing when he had that moment with Jardier. Exactly the same thing. You're welcome, Redouine Massoud, who's also watching, cheering on Hamada Arquizi and Luke Whitehead. But yeah, I mean, now we've got the Pellegrini train here. So that's 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. And look, Zahir Esser in the 777 is not too far behind either. So there's a 5-way scrap for what is 5th position. And I'm just looking at out of all these drivers, out of all these teams, who was the lowest starting? Well, it was actually the 777. So they've gained 5 positions over the course of the hour and 5 minutes so far, and we've still got just over 25 minutes to go, David. I think things are ramping up a little bit in intensity here, because now Felix Ruppert is hell-bent on trying to get past Francesco Pellegrini.
He certainly is, and I'm really starting to feel a little bit uneasy. I'm watching the attitudes and the behaviour of the 5 cars here in this little group, and they're very twitchy, they're very aggressive, they're very, very fighty. You can see them jinking about, moving from left to right, and I get the feeling that something is going to happen, and if it does, it's going to be either an amazing overtake or a terrible accident. It's one or the other here. It's never it's feast or famine here at the Sim Grid. It's either an amazing overtake or it all goes up in flames. But Pavlos having a look to the inside of Jan Willem van Ommen there with Zahir Essa taking up that space at the back with the Ferrari as well, and Pavlos doing a great job at actually breaking up that Ferrari chain right now, but Felix Rupert doing a decent job of holding on to Pellegrini, that is up in fifth place. Great job though for Valentin Barrier taking over from Jaroslav Honzig. Again, great recovery drive. We cannot stress that enough. Right at the back of the grid after that early contact and making their way all the way up into 16th place. Got Boris Desprez behind, and up in front is going to be Sasha Glatter. Oh, move up the inside, never going to work. Turn 3 chaos. Damian Pavlos gets absolutely nuked from orbit from Zahir Essa, and yeah, that's an awkward one. That'll be a bit of karma, and that is going to rub salt in the wound, because if they get a penalty as well as having that, yeah, that's going to be a bad day at the office.
Yeah, looks like there was a move there. Valentin Barrier being pressurised by Boris Desprez, and it looks like Pellegrini might have just lost everything's now kicking off. Look, Felix Rupert finally getting past Francisco Pellegrini from Omega E, and there is Jan Willem van Ommen. So the three-way scrap for 5th place between 3 pedigree racehorses from Maranello, each producing around 700 Newton meters of torque from their respective 3.9 litre V8 twin turbo engines, and this battle. Okay, we're getting into that sort of bit where things start to build. It's like one of those epic cinema orchestral themes, David. Like things build, and then you get a crescendo. But we haven't hit the crescendo quite yet.
If anybody wants me, I'll be busy setting up a website for my fortune-telling skills. I did say just a lap ago, that group of 5 cars, the way they were being so aggressive, so twitchy, something was going to happen. And we saw that round 1 of that was Pavlos with Zahir Essa. Here is live team standings then. The gap now just 7 points between H3 Racing and BMW Team G2 Esports for that top position. But again, look at that XL Racing by Renvelt in number 16 in 3rd place, GTWR Racing Team in 4th place, and Send It Racing now into to 5th place with 145 points. But again, just 19 points off of that lead. It is all to play for in this championship with 2 rounds left to go, and just behind Valentin Barrier, Boris Desprez goes a little bit wide, and that means that Charlie Crossland can streak away. Francesco Pellegrini though is being left to the Wolves being Jan Willem van Ommen. He is getting absolutely stalked. He is getting terrorised right now because Jan Willem van Ommen is on an absolute mission right now. Last lap round for Van Ommen was let's have a little look. In fact, I'll have to go hunting for it because there we are, 145.174. So yeah, Francesco Pellegrini and Jan Willem van Ommen, they're not setting amazing lap times. Penalty comes in for Damian Pavlos, then that'll very likely be for that contact.
Yeah, I mean, to be completely honest with you, I've just been having a look in the comparative sectors. Van Ommen, he was slightly slower by less than a tenth, as here goes Boris Desprez up the inside of Valentin Barrier to now take 16th position going through turn 1 on what is now lap number 40. The biggest thing that I've noticed here is Jan Willem van Ommen seems to struggle in sectors 1 and 2, but then absolutely sectors 1 and 3. But then sector 2, he's nearly a tenth and a half quicker than, he's over a tenth and a half quicker than Pellegrini. So it seems like at the moment Van Ommen just needs to sort of get things a little bit tidier on sectors 1 and 3, and then he can have a good run at Pellegrini, or he could also do that through sector 2.
Certainly can. Again, it just shows how consistency plays such an important role here at Hungaroring. Very, very important factor here at the circuit, and throughout the rest of the championship as well, because as I said, we've got another 2 rounds to come after this round tonight here at Hungaroring. We have, of course, at Zolder in 2 weeks' time on May the 6th, and then May the 20th we have got the season finale at Suzuka in Japan. That will be an absolutely explosive finale, so make sure you do not miss it. As always, if you enjoy what you are seeing here on the YouTube channel here at SimGrid, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It would mean so much to us, but also means you get to be part of the super cool club that knows about everything that we're doing here at SimGrid, as well as heading over to the SimGrid, checking out the blogs that we do update quite regularly, and taking part in our newly launched, our public official is gone live daily racing. If you've been looking for some proper competition style racing every single day of the week, throughout the day, as offered on many different platforms, we finally brought it here to ACC, and we're proud to have it here at the SimGrid. So head over to thesimgrid.com and get yourself registered and join on that, and who knows, next time we could be talking about you on track here. But Alex, 18 minutes left to go. We have to talk about Alaric Enslin, out in front, 5.2 seconds ahead. Actually come down. Enslin just slowing down a little bit there, but it's been a brilliant race. Zahir Essa getting a 10-second penalty, as it updates. That will be for that contact, I believe, on the 7 of Pavlos. Quite ironic, the 7 gets a penalty for hitting Jan Willem van Ommen, and Zahir Essa gets a penalty for hitting Damian Pavlos.
It seems like it's gone all domino rally here at the Hungaroring, hasn't it? You know, it's like, yeah, we'll flick that one over and that will knock that one down, and that one will knock that one down. But at least there haven't been that many dominoes falling here, because otherwise I think we'd have a very, very busy and probably very, very infuriated race control here at the SimGrid. But yeah, there's been some great battles. I mean, Alaric Enslin's tattoo requirements may not be completely fulfilled, because look at the gap between him and Nick Babin. Babin is now taking time out of Alaric Enslin, and Babin last time around was over 0.3 of a second quicker. Gap now 5.078 seconds, and then also Kalpinen is about 3 seconds behind Babin. So the gaps between the top 3 are starting to close.
Unfortunately, as much as I'd love to get giddy with excitement over that, I think part of the reason for that was the overtake on Danny Gusa from Alaric Enslin, putting him a lap down. This is going to be the penalty for Zahir Essa. Tries to fire it up the inside, and yeah, never going to work. Never, ever going to work, and yeah, slam dunk.
Yep, see you later and good night, as they would say. But Pellegrini really coming under fire now from Van Ommen in the latter stages. That's coming out of turn 11. Pellegrini takes the racing line into turn 12, rotates the car, pulls it over to the left-hand side. A little bit wider there from Van Ommen to carry the momentum through the exit of the corner and then through into turn 13. But Felix Ruppert, I mean, literally as soon as he got past Pellegrini, Ruppert's been running away, and he's nearly 2.7 seconds up the road in 5th position. So really good to see that XL Racing by Renvelden having a bit of a better run here in Hungary.
Certainly is, and as I said, Pellegrini's kind of been fed to the wolves, because Van Ommen looks very, very hungry just now. Lucas Kreuzer for Sidemax Motorworks in the 96 down in 14th place, still hunting down that big bad Godzilla of Sasha Glatter in the number 81 Blackhawk Racing outfit, the big monster that is the Nissan GTR in 13th place. Cracking result for them, because that is a big heavy car, and a car that I thought would have been penalised quite a lot here at the Hungaroring. But just thinking back over the past hour and 15 minutes, I think if we have to describe the entire race in one word, it would have to be boop. I think that's the only quality word we can actually use as a good old boop.
Not as good as the word you used on one particular SimGrid broadcast, yeet.
Oh, that's just me trying to pretend that I'm down with the kids and that I know what I'm talking about, when really I don't have an absolute clue at all. But yeah, like the past hour and 15 minutes, it's been again, I go back to saying it, it's been feast or famine. We've had this almost, lull in the action, cars just circulating around, and then we'll have a 5-minute spell where everybody loses their mind and decides, right, this is it, this is the last lap right here, I'm going to send it absolutely from 2 miles back. Takes out whoever's in front of them, and shock horror, shocked Pikachu face, they get a penalty for it. It's I don't really understand what the logic is.
Right, okay, I'm now going to call it, as I see it, like shocked Pikachu face. What on earth have you been drinking before this broadcast? I mean, first yeet of the evening on Best of British, and now shocked Pikachu face on.
Right, hang on. Let's jump in then. They're currently wetting themselves in the production booth, but don't tell me that I say that and you don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, the thing is that Michael Hamlet is not whispering sweet nothings into our ears. He's actually laughing into his microphone at the moment. And yeah, Niels has just said, yeah, David's mixing in well with young'uns.
Do you know what it is? I just spend way too much of my time in Reddit. That's what it is.
Oh dear. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I think moving on. Not as good as what was it? Super Saturday, when a certain Mr. Michael Hamlet said that David Christie is my nemesis as his teammate, team name. Oh dear, but shocked Pikachu face. I wonder what's going to be. I've already seen the shocked Pikachu face already.
It's so appropriate because it's that whole look of like, oh, why am I getting that penalty when I've destroyed a car from 2 miles away? It's like, really, you're actually going to complain about that? It's bewildering. Anyway, the point I was making is the fact that throughout the most of the race, throughout like almost an hour of this race, it's just been cars circulating around the track, and they're keeping themselves to themselves. And then for 10 minutes, it's just been absolute chaos. And again, it looks like we're in a stage of that lull where everybody is just keeping themselves nice and gentle, keeping themselves going round the circuit. But yeah, it's I think it's all going to kick off in the next 5 minutes or so.
Well, up until this point, it has been fairly, and I think the word that I'm going to use is processional in many respects, coming on to what you were saying. But yeah, like you say, it could be that in the next few minutes we could have a moment where we could have a very, very interesting battle, and then before you know it, something happens.
Well, we'll certainly not have long to wait and see if that actually does develop, because there have been some fantastic little scraps all the way through the grid, and I've got to be honest, it's nice to see this. It's nice to finally get to see the title of Alaric Ensign. We've been so focused on all of the drama and the chaos happening through the rest of the order. What a race it's been for Alaric Ensign. And do you know what? It's starting to get interesting, because you pointed this out a couple of laps ago, Alex, and I put it strictly down to the overtaking of the number 4 of Danny Giusa. But that gap's coming down again. It was 4.5. It's now starting to stretch a little bit back up to 5.1. But Nick Babin, I think, is starting to turn up the pressure here.
He has, because he's just got nearly 2 tenths quicker. And actually, as we saw Alaric Ensign and Danny Giusa in the background, I spotted Nick Babin. So literally, as Alaric was, the best part of over halfway down the main straightaway, there was Nick Babin. So yeah, that gap is definitely coming down. That's come down to just under 4.5 seconds. And Zahid Essa and Damien Paulus now battling away over 9th, whilst Jan Willem van Ommen has gotten up the road by about just over 2.1 seconds from this battle. Yeah, we're just waiting. As I said, we haven't hit that crescendo yet, and when we do, I think we'll both realise when that is.
And the point being is that I don't think it's going to be at one point. We saw it throughout the race that it's when it all kicks off. It's like, 3 different points through the field. Everybody just goes crazy and starts attacking each other up the inside. It's almost like they've got the sixth sense to know when to cause the havoc. But Valentin Barry doing a cracking job of hunting down Charlie Crossland in the number 699 Mercedes Send It Racing team car down into turn 3, and the Audi really, I cannot say enough how awesome a recovery drive this has been from Valentin Barry and from Jaroslav Hontik in that number 39 outfit, the Jardier community car, because they were at the back of the field, 29th place, jumped all the way back up to 17th. But talking of recovery drives, look at that, Alex. Artur Kammerer in the 62 G2 Esports BMW, 22nd place. Again, we said that they were going to have a really, really hard day at the office. I think they'll leave tonight with a smile on their face.
Considering they started down in 27th position at the beginning of the race, I mean, that's 5 positions, and that is with a BMW M6 GT3 that is anyway it's a very small tank within GT3 weights. But then to have that extra 35 kilos of ballast, the good thing is they'll have scored points, and what's more, they'll have no ballast for Zolder. And that's going to be a rather interesting prospect when we go to Zolder in a couple of weeks' time. And yeah, that could be another point where we will have another possible shift in the sort of like the storyline that's been playing out. And we've still got okay, it's another 2 rounds over the next month. We're going to have some great action here in the Sprint Cup, along with all the other championships, that are like coming back. More female races by Thrustmaster Rocket starting at Zolder next Monday. Battle of the Outcasts, Monza on next Thursday, and then of course on the Saturday back here for Season 3, Round 1 of the Endurance Cup by Thrustmaster. So there's a lot coming in terms of the championships, but this round I think is just sort of like, I think it's the calm before the storm. The first 3 rounds we've had blistering action, but we've also had quite a few incidents and accidents, and here at the Hungaroring it's been rather tame, I think is probably the best 4-letter word that I could put to this.
Being Scottish, I've got many other 4-letter words, but we won't use them tonight.
We're not going to extend on that vocabulary.
On a completely different note, here is a complete plot twist for everyone right now. Now, we were talking about that gap to first and second coming down. We've been watching the wrong battle. The battle is actually between Nick Babin and Jesse Kalpinen, because that gap is now down to 1.7 seconds between the two of them. It extends slightly as Kalpinen was getting past Danny Giusa, but it's coming down again now. It's 1.8 seconds between those two. So cracking little battle on the cards right now with 6 minutes 45 left to go. Kalpinen is catching him at, I would say, around about 3/4 tenths of a second per lap. So I mean, this is setting itself up to be an amazing finish. Jan Willem van Ommen still hungry, still chomping away at the bit at the heel of Pellegrini in that number 10 Ferrari. These two Ferraris equally matched in terms of power, but Jan Willem van Ommen, we know how determined, how doggedly determined he can be in that car. Look at Zahir Essa as well, just in the background you can catch it on the back of Damien Paulus. So at 1.3 now, the gap between Nick Babin and Kalpinen. With 6 minutes left to go, we've got a battle for second place.
Yeah, Kalpinen has just taken over, 0.123 of a second out of Nick Babin on that previous lap. And we could probably hit over 50 laps race distance here at the Hungaroring tonight, David. But yeah, I mean, Kalpinen, we were talking about that earlier. The gap now is under 1.2. Kalpinen's closing at like 1/10 of a second every intermediate. So every time they go across the timing beam for sectors 1, 2 and 3, Kalpinen's really got a run. And I'm looking at the lap last time. Kalpinen was faster by 0.5 in sector 1, By overall, he was over 4/10 quicker on that last lap. So Kauppinen is frantically chipping away at that gap, and now Nick Babin in that number 25 will see his rear view mirrors filled with a Falterbus finest. Gap slightly gone up to 1.2 is now Van Ommen nearly gets pounced upon by Paulus, but then that allows Zahir Esser to try and get past in the 777 Sim Racing Masterclass car. That's going into turn 2. That's not going to work. Oh, Damien Paulus keeps it ahead of Zahir Esser, but no real contact there to speak of between the pair of them. I think that was a very good defence there from Paulus. He just knew how to keep Zahir Esser out wide. And the thing is they, even if those two get past Pellegrini and Van Ommen, they still got a 10-second post-race penalty. But there is Kauppinen. Gap now is less than a second, 0.82.
Yeah, cracking battle there we saw there between Zahir Esser and Paulus, and that all started at turn 1 where Paulus overcooked the brakes, over-egged it, and had to go out wide. That allowed Esser to try and come up alongside on the outside, but it wasn't happening. So yeah, not going to happen. But Kauppinen now half a second behind Nick Babin for second place. This is all starting to escalate very, very quickly indeed, as we're still watching these two battles that are going on right now for 7th and 8th. For 6th and 7th and 8th and 9th. But look at that. That is an amazing view from the grille of the AMG. Could we have an upset here? We thought it was sheer certainty for a McLaren 1-2, but it looks like Kauppinen is coming to upset the picnic just now, and with 3.5 minutes to go, you'd be a fool for betting against them right now. They're halfway through the 49th lap, and they almost certainly will get over that 50 lap margin with 3 minutes 15 seconds to go in race 4.
Yeah, just keeping an eye. I mean, Babin had a massive moment. He lost over 6/10 to Jesse Kauppinen. So Kauppinen's got the real opportunity. This will be Griffax's best place finish anyway in terms of the season. Now looking at, so they were 18th at Snetterton, 5th at Misano 2 rounds ago, and Imola 23rd. So that'll be by far, well, already with 2 3/4 minutes still to go, Kauppinen and Salvalainen are on course for their best finish ever in Sprint Cup Season 3, and that could help actually catapult them up the order a little bit.
Yeah, it certainly could. What's happened to Jan Willem van Ommen? Because he's dropped back from the tail of Pellegrini onto the battle for Paulus and Esser. So it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen there, because Paulus has already said at the previous lap he's not going to wait. He's just going to absolutely fire it through. And so is Esser from the looks of it. Very, very late onto the brakes here in towards turn 12. This is turn 13. The run up the hill towards the final corner on the lap. Turn 14, a very long right-hander here, and this is all bubbling over into a boil right now. 7th, 8th, 9th, and 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th all together on track. Oh my goodness me, this is huge, and we might even squeeze one more lap out of this.
Yeah, very much the case, because Alaric Enslin is now making his way through into turns 6 and 7 at the furthest, highest part of the circuit so far. Looks like he's got a couple of cars just up ahead, which will probably be including the likes of the 911 possibly. So yeah, and it's been for some it's been a race to forget. Yeah, so yeah, the 911, that is the MSR Liga endurance car, and that's got Robin Pogačar behind the wheel. They're all the way down in 26th position. So next time when Alaric Enslin comes on, and Kauppinen, look, has got that gap down to about 0.3 of a second between himself and Nick Babin, and they're coming through. One of the things, as you said about patience, I think Kauppinen started to run out of it, because now Alaric Enslin is going on to the final lap of the race.
Yeah, here we go then. White flag is out. Final lap of the race here in round 4 of the SimGrid Sprint Cup Season 3. And what a race it has been. We've had calm, we've had excitement, we've had action, everything you could possibly want, and we are on for a grandstand finish here at the Hungaroring. It's Jesse Kalpinen hunting down the 25 McLaren of Nick Babin. It was a gap that was over 3 seconds, and Kalpinen brought that gap down to just a whisker between the two of them. Is it too little, too late? Because there's very little opportunity to get past other than a wild send here. That McLaren, the Mercedes, looks rather far back for my liking, as we see the race leader as we go picture in picture coming through the second half of the circuit, just making his way up towards that is turn 8. That your race leader going to put a lap down on that 911 of Jarno Kausch and Robin Bagadel. For me, I'm gutted by that one. They're usually on the pace, they're usually within the top 15 and duking it out, but it has just not been working out for them tonight. But as we said, down in the bottom right, you see your race leader coming through to complete the final half of the circuit just now, coming through into turn 12, into turn 13 is your race leader. We'll keep an eye on that battle for second and third. I think it's done and dusted. It certainly looks that way, because Alaric Ensign comes out of turn 14, a flawless performance. Both him and Amir Hosseini comes across the line to win round 4 of the SimGrid Sprint Cup Season 3. Second place is going to go to the number 25 SimSport of Nick Babin and Mikhail Nowakowski, as it was on the grid. Third place is going to be Jesse Kalpinen in the 77 Griffax Engineering from teammates Eunice Salvalainen. Great first effort from those 3 cars, and we wait to see what is going to happen then with 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th. Fourth place for Hamed Erkizi in the 404. Felix Rupert in the 16 takes 5th place. It's Pellegrini in 10th. In 6th place with the number 10. 7th for Jan Willem van Ommen. Damien Pavlos gets 8th place, in Zahir Essa 9th on track, but they've got 10-second penalty, so that'll drop them to about P14. Thibaut Prost in 10th. It's going to be Stapleford in 11th place. Lego Montero in 12th. Sasha Glasser gets past Lucas Kreuzer. Now that is a huge moment, because Lucas Kreuzer actually got past Sasha Glatter, and that position has obviously reversed itself again. So Sasha Glatter in 13th, 14th for Lucas Kreuzer, 15th for Boris Desprez, Charlie Crossland in 16th, Valentin Barrier in 17th. It's going to be 18th place for Richard Lindhorst in the Porsche Team 111, Yannick Hamer in 19th, Christopher Streppen in 20th, Patrick Pignon in 21st, Arthur Kammerer. What a result that is for the G2 Esports number 62 BMW. Huge recovery drive for them. The car was hampered, 35 kilos of extra ballast. Great result for them for the championship. Sheldon Muscat in, that was, let me just check for you just now. Sheldon Muscat was in 23rd. It's going to be Grigory Ivanov in 24th after that penalty. Giannis Sakinis in 25th. It's going to be Robin Pagadel, that horrible day out for the 911 Porsche. And then Danny Gusa in the 4 in 27th. Harry Spears in 28th, and then the 42 Mercedes of Alex Johnson did not finish. Whoa, Alex, that was intense.
You're putting it rather lightly there, Mr. Christie, but yeah, I mean, again, Sprint Cup. Okay, people will say like, yeah, well, it wasn't as action-packed as the last 3 races. Well, the thing is that with the Hungaroring, we've talked about this pretty much all the way through the broadcast. You know, it's bumpy, it's twisty, it's undulating. There's, you know, like going through into turn 1, as you can see, as we're having a look at the replay, you know, there's Devin Palmer, you've got Andrea Benedetti, and then also the number 16 of XL Racing by Henveld, and that would have had Maximilian Wolmuth behind the wheel. But it was just the sheer domination. As Amir Hosseini keeps his 100% race victory record. He's either been a part of or he's won all 3 of the Sprint Cup races so far at this circuit, and it looks like you've got an interview coming in, David.
Yeah, we certainly do. Alaric Enslin, your race winner from tonight in the number 92 Tauro McLaren. Good evening, Alaric. Congratulations. Another win. This has just been an epic, epic season so far for the McLaren.
Oh yeah, guys, it's been a great race, but I mean, not the best season so far. I wish it could have been a bit better. Yeah, I mean, missing out on that first race, and then also the Imola race didn't go so well. But I'm pretty happy with the 2 race wins so far. Can't complain at all.
Talk us through that race, because it looked very, very cool, calm and collected. Not just from yourself, but from Amir Hussaini in that first stint.
Oh yeah, I mean, Amir was the star in this race. A mega first, and he absolutely just smashed it. I mean, I just kept an eye on his lap time. It's just so consistent, just keeping it in. Just keep talking to him. Listen, the guys behind are slowing down a tiny bit, so just keep this pace and build that gap, and he did it. My season didn't go, could have gone a bit better. I mean, I'm sitting with an injury. My left foot is a bit broken up, so I've been struggling with to drive, and we also had final track limit warning again, just like Misano. So it was all just about getting the car back and keeping that gap going.
So Alaric, it's just me, you, and a couple of hundred people watching on YouTube. So let's talk about. If I remember rightly, we've got a tattoo that you owe us, haven't you?
Oh yeah, I know. I have been looking, but the tattoo parlors are closed due to COVID, sadly. But
we remember. We haven't forgotten either. So what we need is some, well, maybe not photographic evidence, but we do need some sort of proof that is happening.
No, I'll make sure it happens.
Joking aside, I mean, getting back to the Sprint Cup then, obviously we've got Zolder and Suzuka left to go in the season. What's your thoughts on those races?
Oh, yeah, Zolder's is going to be trying to get some points back. Final race is going to be tough. I mean, the championship is looking pretty spicy at the moment. But I mean, we're aiming for a top 5. We're not there yet, but top 5 will be nice. So that's what we're aiming for.
Excellent stuff. Well, thank you very much for joining us tonight, Alaric. Are you off to celebrate tonight?
Oh no, I'm going straight to bed.
What an exciting life us sim racers lead. Alaric Enslin then from the number 92 Tauro team. Pass on our congratulations to Amir as well. Well done, buddy.
Cheers, guys. Have a good night. Cheers.
So, there we go. That's your race winners. And let's have a chat to the third place team. That is, of course, the 77 Griphax Engineering of Jesse Kalpinen and Eunice Salvalainen. So let's bring them in for a chat. Eunice and Jesse, congratulations, guys. That was an awesome race there. We thought you were going to have second place at the end there.
Hello, and thank you. Yeah, it was a really good race for us.
Eunice, for yourself, towards the end there, how much were you screaming at Jesse when you saw he was catching Nick in that 25?
Well, I kept my finish calm and I was just cheering that he can do it, and hoping for Babin's mistake, but hey, good driver in front and he didn't make any massive mistakes, so we couldn't capitalize on it.
Jesse, talk us through that second stint for yourself, because you were just absolutely on fire.
It didn't feel like that. I felt like I missed some pace, so not entirely happy. Better luck next time.
I love that. You're so close to second place and taking the third place, and you said absolutely devastated with that. But I mean, that's going to be some huge championship points for you and potentially bring you back into contention.
Yeah, let's hope we get better last half of the season. First one was pretty shit.
Eunice, on that note, with 2 races left to go, with Zolder and Suzuka coming up, what's your plan of attack for those races?
Full send.
Full send every single corner?
Yes.
Promise?
Send. Yes, we will promise that.
Excellent. Well, we're very much looking forward to it. Congratulations for taking third place for Griphax Engineering, and we look forward to seeing you at the next race at Zolder. That is Eunice Salvalainen and Jesse Kalpinen. Have a great night, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So there we go, and I do have to apologise for any choice, colourful language that we say there. And I've got to be honest, I mean, how awesome is it that it's not come from me? That is a turn up for the books, Alex.
Well, yeah, I mean, at least we have to give Jesse props for brutal honesty there. Firstly, but yeah, I mean, it was a great drive from the pair of them. Jonas was saying, yeah, he was just cheering Jesse on, just saying, yeah, go on, mate, you can do it. And they knew they had the pace in that car. So, but also the fact is that now, for the penultimate round at Zolder, their ballast. It's 28 kilos that Mercedes is going to have. Taro's going to have 35, and then Carbon Sim Sport's going to have 30. So that changes everything again. Then you got H3 on 26 kilos, and they're effectively de facto leading the championship. It's not over yet, and I'm going to echo the words of Alaric Enslin that this championship is getting rather spicy.
It certainly is. It certainly is. So make sure you join us in a couple of weeks' time for round 5 of the Sprint Cup Season 3. That is, as we said, going to be coming up very, very soon. Loads more coming up here on the Sim Grid as well. So as we said, hit that subscribe button and you can check out such things as More Female Racers by Thrustmaster Rockets. That starts on Monday night, 7 p.m, and that is taking place at Zolder. We've got Battle of the Outcasts at Monza at 7:30 as well, and then of course we have the World Cup as well. The next round of that is going to be absolutely incredible. We've also got the Endurance Cup Season 3, the 3 hours of Hungaroring on Saturday. That will be kicking off at 11 o'clock. So much in store for you. As always, a huge thank you to our partners, Coach Dave Academy and to Thrustmaster. Huge thank you to our production team of Michael Hamlet and to Mike Yao on the broadcast cameras. And of course, Alex, to you as well. It's been another awesome night at what we get to call our office.
Indeed, yeah. Don't forget, you can follow us on all the relevant social media channels on Twitter, sim_grid, at the Sim Grid on both Instagram and Facebook. And for any latest information you want to find out, head to thesimgrid.com. David, I mean, so much is happening here for 2021 for the Sim Grid. I'm so pleased that when I started last year, when a certain person, my partner in crime, my good old Scottish Bay, messaged me and said, you fancy doing British Classics at Silverstone? And then, as they say, the rest is history. And yeah, I mean, like, the amount of stuff that's going on, the community is consistently growing. The fact that SimGrid is now, well recognised with a lot of things, obviously, with what happened with the with what happened recently at Monza for real life and sim racing going together. It's really, really exciting, and yeah, I'm looking forward to what's happening in the next few weeks and months, and obviously the years to come, because when you think about it, SimGrid hasn't been going for that long, and we're getting stronger and stronger, and more people are joining the community, and we can't thank everybody enough out there for not just, all the team at the SimGrid, but also everyone, every single member of the community, especially those watching at home.
Yep, completely echo all of those sentiments. So, as always, thank you very much for joining us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Hit like if you can, hit the subscribe button. Have a wonderful, wonderful night, and we will see you very, very soon.